podcast. Record. All right. I think we're going. Perfect.
We're going perfect.
Welcome
Guys,
back to another summer show. Dun, dun, dun.
It's good to be back.
Once a week.
Thanks for having me again.
Not a problem. Thank you for joining me. I mean, what else are we going to do? Either Sunday night or Monday night, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we had our thing, our church thing for the past 2 days. So it was like, let's just hear all of that, just kind of like get focused.
Right.
So I was like,
there was no gathering, right? It was just
no, it was just it was
Teleframe.
It was the Latter-day Saint General Conference, and they just broadcasted it. So we just kind of like sat in our PJs and listened to all the talks. And that's not a bad way to kind of enjoy some good messages. So.
You were never a fan of wearing a tie, right? I don't
know. Yeah, I would say I'm not a fan of wearing a tie.
I don't think I seen you wear a tie once the time that I was at the lab. Not even once.
Dude, I would only dress up formal for like some occasion or wedding or an interview or something like that. But rather than that, I just like to be in my casuals. So
good. Awesome.
But we see a different change. Kevin's in casual. And not in his usual shirt and pants and stuff. So
right, I'm more casual today, so that's definitely good.
Is that branded gear you're wearing? Branded jacket, like Adidas
Columbia?
or something? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just one that my parents went here, and then they went a shopping spree in Park City, buying new clothes, and I got this jacket, so it's like a sweater thing. So
sweater thing. So that's nice, man. That's cool. So, as I was telling you a little bit before, it's let's go back, way back to the time machine and go back to our roots.
Right.
One of our listeners,
your wife, hint.
My wife, who just listens from the other room.
Good.
She was curious to know our respective backgrounds, specifically our home life and how we grew up. And she asked me some questions. She gave me a list of questions, and some of them were like, "Oh wow, that would be interesting to hear." How did Kevin and his family do this, and how did me and my family do that?
So we're both going to answer the question, right? Maybe you're not going to ask it, but we're both going to do. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So we'll both try to kind of compare and contrast, because a lot of times in my mind it's like, oh, you're from China, Asia, I'm from India, Asia, and that we have very similar cultures. But even in that, things might be different. How we were raised and stuff like that. So let's go all the way back and ask a very general framework question. How was it? How was growing up like in your home and / China?
In my home, how was it growing up?
How was growing up?
This
is just a general overview.
Yeah. Like, what kind of answer do you expect? Do you want more of a one word answer, or like a general sentence, or what are you looking for?
Okay, we'll make it more interesting. Say the first word that pops out in your mind, and we'll go from there. I should time you on that.
Well,
it's like 20 questions.
Yeah. So my growing up, I would categorize as I don't know how to categorize normal, but
okay.
how do you define normal, right? Like normal in a Chinese sense.
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good, because you said normal, so let's kind of figure out what your normal is.
Define normal, right?
Yeah, define your normal.
So Chinese family, it's all based on testing, right? I grew up taking tests. Mm-hmm. That was what it's all about. Went to the best, public elementary school in Beijing, which is best in China. Went to the best junior high in Beijing. I don't think I'm that smart.
Oh, come on.
I don't think I'm that smart. Like seriously, my strongest suit is in English and Chinese, which is literature. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not math savvy or like science savvy.
Mm-hmm.
And then after coming here, I feel I can do math or do science in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of the U.S. standard, but in China, I'm just not a very good test takers. And growing up, yeah, like my grandparents are prosecutorial, like they were all like educators. And my grandma taught at a
Mm-hmm.
university. My like grandpa was the head of a high school here in China,
Mm-hmm.
here in Beijing. So my family, like my dad is a doctor, my mom is a teacher. So my family are academics, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, play some instrument, not my thing. Try learning, extracurricular math, not my
Mm-hmm.
thing. Play a little bit of classical guitar, kind of give it up. Play basketball, and just test. That's pretty much it. I don't know.
Okay, so I'm curious as to why, it's like almost you said you lived a normal life, like
Mm-hmm.
you said your family growing was normal, and then it felt like you equated everything your normal equals academia.
That's that's
That's
that's
what and you can let me know if that wasn't right, but that's kind of what yeah, and to me it's kind of curious as to how you equated the two together, and chose that to be a normal,
that
like
is a normal
academia.
for that's a normal for every Chinese kid that growing up in China. There's no different roads to like Johns Hopkins or to whatever. There's only
Mm-hmm.
one path. You're going down this one path. Sure, there might be some other stuff like like I play guitar or I'm into sneakers. I like basketball, but everybody is going down this one path. There's no
So
side.
so let's so what's an unconventional path then
Mm,
that
none.
you know of your friends or anything?
No,
Like,
everybody went through this.
was your normal based on your family's economics, like finances, and like, because your family, as you just mentioned, your grandpa they were educators, your dad's a doctor and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, was your path predefined? Like, if you
Mm,
were maybe born, if you were like in a factory worker family, would that path be
same thing.
different?
Everybody
uh,
has to go through the same path. And for me, maybe I'm the unconventional one because I left Beijing when I was 14.
mm-hmm,
I I didn't went to high school in like China. Like my mom still jokes that like Kevin, like
mm-hmm.
you like, haven't even finished a junior high yet. I was like, yep, you're right. I haven't finished junior high in like China. So my Chinese level is probably like eighth grade or like ninth grade, which is enough for most Chinese
Mm-hmm.
people. But like I haven't finished junior high yet. Maybe that's me. I'm the outlier.
You're
Uh,
the outlier.
because back in the day, I was the first one in my class of 40 people. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what we say class, we don't mean the whole grade, like 400 people that are sophomores or
Just
ninth
your
grader.
class.
Just a
Just your.
class that I'm living with every
Mm-hmm.
day. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
first one in my class to leave the educational system and came to the U.S. Um,
So, so like, okay, so now I'll answer that general question.
yeah, but you can
Um,
ask me first. That's fine.
no. I think like I would say growing up was also normal for me, but I can see that if my family economics were different, like higher or lower, um, probably not as much higher, but definitely if it was lower, that path will, my home life could be different.
How so?
Um, Simply because, again, kind of going to like just academics, I may not have been able to afford the best schools. I would be going to like public schools,
Oh, right,
which definitely are not good as private schools in India.
right.
Uh, there's a possibility that depending upon my economics, I might have had to help my parents
Right.
work.
I see what you're talk about. So
So it's like that could be different. That would change my trajectory of my life.
Right. I see.
So which didn't be the case. However, like growing up, I think in some sense my parents did pre-decide what they wanted us to do, me and my brothers.
Going to US.
No, more like a general frame, like, hey, we want you to go to a good school, have good education, so you can like get a good job, so you can get good money, so you can
repay us.
Well, repay us in the sense of uphold the family name.
Honor, right.
Honor, like, family. It's like, so like, like keep growing the merchant name and merchant family as they envisioned it, Right. So I remember like sometimes I used to draw and sketch, and I remember this incident that one of my, I don't know, my mom told me and my dad told me that one time, like I like musical instruments. I would like take up toy guitars and pretend to play. And I don't know which one of them told me, but my mom and dad had a discussion that we should discourage him from playing with musical instruments because we don't want him to even
waste time on this.
Waste time and think about I want to be a musician. But that's the thing. But that kind of brings about the abnormality in the normal. It's like my life I thought was normal, but my parents were deciding like everything.
I see.
If that makes sense. But yeah. If you compare a family here in the US, things are a little bit more different, right?
A little bit more. Yeah. So like for like China, like there's no private school that okay, so the mainstream way of education is one way. It's a mainstream way, right? Public all the way. Because there's so many people, 5-6 billion now, like people have to be going down this way to ensure the fairness of college entrance exam to be example, right? Like so like a private school, there are private schools, but those schools are aiming for going to abroad and those things are really coming into fruition for the last, I would say, maybe 5-6 years. So even when I was growing up, there's not much of that kind of a private school that existed. And then now there's more and more because people are, I will send my kids to abroad to get a better education or define better, right? So in China, there's one way,
There's one way.
That's it. If you're poor, then you have a shot to progress. If you have a better college score, if you go to a college, say in Beijing, then if you're rich, you still have to go through the same thing.
I see. So there's no so the socioeconomics doesn't have that much discrepancy in educational system. Like everybody goes through the same.
But I will say this: there's extra curriculum classes that people can attend. That those things are pricey.
What are those? Like after school?
Yeah, so after school that you need to attend if you want to get ahead. Because like to be honest,
I see. I did that too. It's kind of funny in Japan. Our Japanese students that come to live with us, they say in Japan it's called cram school.
Yeah,
it's like the same thing. Like
same thing.
You go to school after school to help you get good grades, like in tests and like, stuff like that.
And before I left for the US, it was crazy to a certain extent that a normal teacher, like they have their salary with the school, and then they will triple their salary with the cram school.
Yeah.
So if you so like the key to getting into a good public school in China is to hunting down those teachers that taught at the famous schools, and then pay them outrageous amount of hourly to tutor your children. Maybe it works, maybe because to be honest, in my opinion, like test taking is not a skill; it's just practice. But for me, I guess it's just not enough practice, and then my mind wasn't in there. So, so there's like a separate economy like away from the educational system for the like teachers, are very famous, like top of the line school teachers, to have a decent life. What I mean by decent is they're driving Porsches everywhere.
Yeah,
and BMW and Chanel bags everywhere.
That's man. So you said that you weren't really good with math, and you kind of mentioned how test is not your biggest test taking is not your strongest suite.
Right.
So how did that, like, did you get low scores? If so, did your parents were like, what the heck is Kevin doing? Like, how was that interact? Do you have a good story that,
Yeah,
that you can kind of share?
So it's interesting looking back, right? Like I always have very, very good Chinese teacher. I always have very, very good English teacher. From the very beginning, like it's like interesting. And for me, all my math teacher sucks. I will tell you this one story, right? So I was 7th grader, just getting into a new junior high, right? Like the best one in the in like Beijing. I walk in and then just start doing my thing, and then the math teacher that we have, we call it like Mr. Hu or a Hu sir. So Hu is a last name and sir, right? Hu sir. And then he is close to retiring. I think he retired last year or 2 years ago. And what happened was he simply adores the female classmates of mine. so like what happens, because for me, like I only have one move, right? Apply for my dogs, for my girlfriend. I ask one out and then turn me down, and I ask like another one out. So that's my one move, is I work ethic, right? So there will be times that I go to that Hu sir, right? My master for like questions, and then what happened was he will literally place me in the back of the line behind the cute little Chinese classmates, even though they got there behind me. You see? They will say, Kevin, okay, wait, and then they will talk to them all like happy and like lively with like the eyebrows. I remember this, like, oh, you're here. Oh, what's your question? Ask me. And then and then when it's my turn, Summer, I kid you not, when it's my turn, it's like, what do you want? And then seriously, like it was so like insulting to me. And then every single time that he calls on me in like class, like this is probably like the reason why I'm like a traumatized for life right now. No joke. He will ask me the question. I will tell them the answer. I will work it out right on my notebook, and then I do it quickly, right? And then I know it's a crap because I practice it. And then the teacher will literally double check my work step by step for like 2 minutes after I give him the answer. It's like, I know Kevin will not give me a right answer. I know I have to double check because I'm giving the whole class notes.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel very good at the time, but now I can laugh about it. But that was the master that I have to deal with. So same thing with physics, So
what happened with physics?
Same thing.
Same thing. But not sir.
But not to that extent.
Okay.
So like I don't know. I that's why I hate people like prejudging, because like how do you know that the answer that I gave you is wrong? You have to like go through like 2 minutes, go through my work to make sure that I'm right. In reality, that like you should trust me more.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry. That's how did your parents? Did you ever tell this to your parents? How did your parents take that? Like, what did they say or do? Or?
My parents know that my strength is English and Chinese, and they know that my like not so much strength is like math teachers, and my mom knows that Hu sir is not a good teacher, like she knows. But in reality, like since I'm so far ahead of the pack with my Chinese and English abilities, I was ranked number 10 or 13 because they post out the scores of testing rankings after every single big big test,
Mm-hmm.
like for the whole class, we're talking like 500-600 people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually the top 10 in the English score.
Oh, okay.
I'm usually the class leader for the subject for English.
Mm-hmm.
Like I lead a class, I ask questions and whatnot. But for like math and like physics, it's kind of like I'm like lower to the middle to lower of the pack. So like on average, I'm still a decent student. Maybe a little bit more above decent, but like what they call 偏科. So like I'm certain, I'm like sidetracked. I'm only good for a part of the situation. So I'm not a well-rounded good student. Being good at Chinese, math, and English, along those lines. So they were okay with it.
They're okay. That's good. I mean, seems like they were supportive of the fact and did not kind of berate like, hey, Kevin, you really need to like do this extra math work, extra stuff.
Yeah.
That's I mean, that's really neat. Like, I think for me, test taking was, I wouldn't say test taking was hard for me, but getting the expectation for me, for my parents, pretty much all my siblings, were that we need to get like the top scores.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need to be like in the top 10, top 5, of the class consistently. And I was not good with that. I was like, in some subjects, I would go below, and I think I was always above average, but not as above as they wanted it to be.
Right.
And I remember like there were a few tests that I got like bad scores. And I remember distinctly, they would send scores in the mail.
They would?
They would send scores in the mail. And this was the cram school score. Okay. So not even the
real
the
school,
main school, the real school, but it's like, and I remember doing really bad on that one. And I was really like afraid that my dad would open the mail and take the mail and look at my scores and like
and beat you.
And then like berate me like, what the heck? Why am I paying all of this for? What are you doing? What's in your head? Yeah. And I remember waiting for the mailman to come. I knew kind of what time he came. And then when it was like sure that he had come, I like it was like we lived in a building, like a apartment complex. The mailboxes were at the bottom. And I remember like going down with like a hanger, like a wire and like some string, and like trying to fish my thing out. Thankfully the cram school didn't, like, if it wasn't like if you got poor scores every time, they would call. Yeah. But if it was like once or twice, they would just, it's like it's up to the parents to look at them and like do whatever. So I remember just kind of like fishing that one and like throwing it away. And my dad is busy, and he didn't keep track of everything that I was doing, and so that was kind of like forgotten. So
do you feel pressured?
Yeah.
You going to school?
I did feel pressure, not just from parents but from teachers as well, because my older brother was doing really well. He was getting like top grades. Yeah. And so there's always this comparison between me and him. And I'm pretty sure that when I started getting good scores, my younger brother was compared with me and my older brother. So it's like, because it's a lot of times you would get the same teachers. We were just like, me and my older brother were 3 years apart. Me and my younger brother like 1 year apart. So we got a lot of same teachers teaching us. So they got to know all of us. So is it more like okay? So the older brother, oh yeah, good student, and the summer is like, oh okay, man, okay, man. And for your little brother, is that so PTAs are always embarrassing if we didn't do well.
Right. That's same thing here.
It's like always like, oh, is this one's brother? It's like, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get good grade as him. Or like, oh, I think he has more potential. I think he can do a lot better. It's like, what if this is the best I can do?
Right.
It's like there was always that expectation of like being better, like being good. So coming back, it didn't feel to me that I could be myself,
Right.
and
You were feeling like you were living in your older brother's shadow a little bit, huh?
yeah, and from what you said, it seems to me. I mean, you don't have an older brother, but from what you said, it doesn't seem like you had that kind of a pressure. No.
Well, I don't from my siblings, but I do from other parents, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So like there's a ranking system, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
you get to know because during the PTA meeting, we're gonna have the top students in the class tell the parents what did they do well on the last
Oh.
exam. So quite frankly, I was never so like those people like they got a privilege to stay after school for the
Oh.
PTA.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I was never that privileged to be staying after school to meet all the parents, right? So like my mom is like, okay, cool, so and so, but like she knows that like I'm not gonna she doesn't want to compare me to another person, but there
Mm-hmm.
are many parents that does that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was never privileged enough to be stay after school to actually join the PTA meeting. I'm always the one that go home right after school before the PTA and then do my thing.
That's so. What was, if you had to describe a week in Kevin's life, Kevin's home life?
Mm-hmm.
How did it look like
Back in China, when
back
I
in
was going to
China
school.
while you were going to school? What was a typical week look like for you?
Okay. Monday. Um, let's see. I think the classes starts at 7:45.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be there at 7:10, 7:20. It's just so long ago. I usually go home for lunch
Mm-hmm.
because our place is right next to the school. I can walk home.
Oh wow, that's super nice.
I know, but I don't get to do it all the time. I don't remember how often I'm going home, but like
Mm-hmm.
most places. And then the classes ends at 4:30, so we have like
Mm-hmm.
8 different periods, like 40 minutes apart. We
Mm-hmm.
have like 5 minutes of like the in between class
In
time.
between class, yeah.
And then the classes ends at 4:30, and then there's a test period right after that. So from 4:30 to like 6, we're gonna have a test.
Oh
And
wow, every
then
day, every day.
yeah,
Oh wow,
right before I came to the US, and we are prepping for the big
test. Mm-hmm.
the big test from like junior high to high school.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, it will be maybe a test on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like different subjects. And when we hit ninth grade, right, we're gonna have physics, we're gonna have chemistry added onto there. So we're gonna have tests literally every single day, and then we have homework on top of that, and then we have the cram classes on top of that. There's even PE test.
Dang.
I know. So that will be my life is 7:20, 7:45 to 4:30. Take a big test, and then go home for do homework if you're lucky. If you don't have cram school, and then the weekends will just be cram schools also.
So when would you come home?
Around maybe 6.
6. So you
5:30,
would.
6.
So what would the first thing you would do after you come home?
Don't remember actually. When I was in China, probably start doing homework,
Mm-hmm.
and then when my mom gets home, or we can cook for different things, I might help her out and eat, and then just do homework for the rest of the day, pretty much.
So and your dad was working like in the hospital and such.
Yeah. So my dad will come home like 9 and 10, and like we're just, oh yeah, cool, house school good, and then we get back to my homework.
Oh, okay. So pretty much you would just be doing homework. And your cram school was on the weekend?
Yeah, my cram school.
When did your cram school start? When did you have to start taking cram school?
For a little bit. So I did different things. So for the first little bit, I did English, to because I know that I'm going to be down like come to the U.S. for school. So there's different English thing that I can do on top of the schoolwork that I'm doing, and then I got math cramp. Surprise, surprise! I got math cramped. So I will get a math cramp. I think every Saturday. Every Saturday, like for like a 3-hour session or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember it being like that bad, but it wasn't that enjoyable either. So
I can see that.
and then and I was like getting it light, because right now, if you're going to school right now, like it's gonna be cramped every night. So the kids are literally pulling like 12-hour days, like starting when they're 13. How crazy is that? And then like people think, people think like, oh yeah, like the Chinese people, like when they're going to college in China, maybe here too, they don't study. I was like, why would they study? They've been going through like concentration camp for the last 5 years. They finally got a break. I'm finally away from the freaking testing system. I finally made it that I can take on a vacation right now. Why would I study? There's no reason to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like backwards. You know what I mean?
So like, did you do any recreation in between? Did you have any? Yeah. What was your hobby?
I played basketball, right? Like every pretty much every summer. Like that was like like primary school, maybe a little bit 7th grade. Every summer, I just be me, basketball, and a big jug of water. I just go play. I don't know, maybe that's why I grow so tall. I don't know, right? And starting in 5th grade, I started playing classical guitar.
Oh, you know how to play guitar?
Classical guitar, not the one that you can sing song to, but I haven't practiced for a long time.
Oh wow!
So technically,
that's something we didn't know about Kevin.
Well,
he's classically
those fingers,
trained.
They don't just grow this big. Anyway, cool. So I was doing that 5th grade and 6th grade, and then I think maybe 7th grade a little bit, and then when I hit 8th grade, there was just too much schoolwork. I have to give it up.
Oh.
So, that was it.
That's wow. So in contrast, my typical day was school from 7 to 4.
Right. Similar.
Kind of similar. 8 periods, 40. Kind of similar, like with some breaks in between.
Yeah.
Because my school was far away. We had to take a school bus, so I couldn't come home for lunch and such. My mom would give us lunch. And then we would come home. I remember, like, my dad would be preparing to leave to go to his clinic at that time.
Right.
And I know we would like come home. We had a tradition. We would like drink tea. And most days I remember I would take a nap.
Lucky you.
I would take a nap from, I don't know, like 4:30 to like 5:30 or 6-ish. And then I would begin my homework. Till like 9, like dinner time, like 6 to 8 or 6 to 9 or something like that. And then dinner time, my mom would mostly make dinner, and then we would like all get, like, my dad was working in his clinic, so it would just be my brothers and I would have dinner, and we'd like watch a cartoon show. We would watch anime or something, some TV show,
right?
For like 30 minutes, an hour, like 9 to 10, and then kind of prepare to go to bed. Like,
okay,
we were in bed by 11, I would think, yeah, because we had to wake up by 7 again. So
that's why the naps are there for, right?
Yeah, that's why I was like, I love my naps. I remember my younger brother would watch cartoon in the evening while I was taking a nap or something like that. I forgot what my older brother did. Huh, it's kind of interesting. But our cram school didn't begin. Like, I didn't go to cram school till I was in like 10th grade, so like 16 years.
Really?
So
that was what, back in the early 2000s, or?
Yeah, so 2002
Okay.
is when I graduated, or 2000, yeah, 2002 is when I graduated,
Okay.
like 10th grade, which is half high school.
Right.
Um, so it was like, yeah, that's when we started because we had to take a big test to go from that 10th grade to like junior college or the last 2 years of our high school.
Right.
Um, so that's kind of when I like, yeah, that's what it looked like for us. Like I would have small interaction with our dad, with my dad when we first came home, and then he was gone. He came
He
home at like midnight or 1 a.m.
he does like night shift or something,
He
or
did like he does like a night.
okay.
It's his own practice, but
Oh, okay.
he prefers to do the like he would. It's not even a night shift. It's not graveyard, but it's like an evening shift, like
Right.
5 to 12.
Right. Okay. I
Like
see.
4 to like so like he liked that, and then in the morning we were in school, so we wouldn't see him anyways.
Right.
So um so yeah, that was kind of like our typical week, and then weekends we like got to watch a movie or something. Like
Right.
it was more, homework. I didn't play outside a lot. Like my dad was always like, it's too hot, you shouldn't play outside, you're gonna get sunstroke or something. So we weren't a lot of outdoorsy. I wasn't an outdoorsy kid. Never played like basketball
So you've
outside
been
or
doing a pre-corona quarantine for all your life, pretty much.
yeah. My parents are like surprisingly doing really good with this. It's like, because that's what they do anyways.
Right. Right.
So, but
That's
I
nice.
mean, now I have changed. Like, I like to do more stuff outdoors, but it's not to an extent where I'm like, I need to be outdoors every day.
Right. Do
Um,
you do you feel like this kind of like, because we're both went through the same thing? Do you feel like it's kind of like backwards? Because that's kind of how I feel to me, right? Like give the children some, leisure time to do what they want to do when they're little, and then when they're actually have time to put into okay what they want to do, and then they will actually start putting the work, right? Either through middle school or high school, but you know what I mean?
yeah. I think that is, when I think about it, it feels like, and I know like, I feel like I had a little bit more time than you did,
Probably.
for the lower grades. Seems like that. Uh, but yeah, it seemed like maybe earlier on, if we to get that whole roundedness, right? Like, um, if we were allowed to do like more things, that we were creative or things of that sort, I think it would. I don't know. It might result in a better education, and then as time goes on, the thing that I struggle with is the fact that maybe everybody should have perhaps a decent foundation in everything.
Right.
Like, and like, even if you're not good with math right now, but I think you're decent. Like, I don't think you're terrible.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like, I mean, you may not like to do graduate stuff, but you're like, it's like, that's what I feel like everybody should get like an overall foundation,
Right.
and then after a certain point, they can choose to go what they want to do.
It's true.
If that choice is given too early, like do whatever, and if somebody really drops math when in like 5th grade or 6th grade, like they have the opportunity to do it and they just do it,
Mm-hmm.
then it feels like it'll hurt your overall whole roundedness,
Right.
I think. um, and that's something like I feel like, yeah, our maybe the education system here maybe struggles a little bit with that. It's like we were challenged a lot, like all our exams. I'm not so sure how exams are here in high school, if you can tell me, but we were writing stuff for 3 hours constantly. um, Back in high school and stuff, we were just like writing for
In
like,
India.
in India,
Okay.
for 3 hours, and when I look back at it, I'm surprised. I'm like, wow, I could write so much, like put so much in my head and just throw it on a paper and keep writing for that much in 3 hours. I can't do that anymore. Like if somebody just tells me to write, I'm just whatever, man.
The ship
You
has
know, but
the ship is gone, it's sailed away.
but yeah, but to be like, oh, I could do that is like, yeah, man, that's awesome. Like I almost feel like proud.
Yeah. In like China, I don't know, because I left the system. I left the system system when I was
Yeah.
when I was 14. But from the looks of it, there's less writing. It's more focusing on more, I don't want to say busy work, but I want to say busy work. Like one of the things that at least for me I picked up on, maybe you can back it up too, like it's the differences of science classes. Maybe in India, maybe in your private school it's like different, but for me, like my entire, because the whole year, like my 8th grade, right, we started chemistry. We done 2 experiments for the entire year. 2.
Oh wow.
And then it was like a half-ass experiment as well, like burning magnesium, and then it burns.
Oh,
bright.
I remember those. Yeah.
And that's it. That was one of our experiments, right? And then I don't feel like I learned anything from the chemistry class besides how to balance the equation. And what does the magnesium look like when it burns. But without that, I can look at a photo and I can remember that, right? Like it's less hands-on learning. It's more like, okay, this is designed for you to do this. Now, when I come to the U.S., I was here. I think my first year was 9th grade here in high school. Like I was doing chemistry honors. Like we have experiments every freaking week. And then I loved it. I was like, oh, like, this is what actually learning science is supposed to be like. You know what I'm saying? Like when I hit high school, when I hit the AP program, the IB program, we're producing like 20 pages of lab reports with header, with graphs, with notation, with standard variation. I've been through all of that, right? Because that's what I call a proper science training, right? It just depends on how much you want to load the boat, like how much you want to load it. But like, I totally agree that writing should be a priority, but doing busy work, the testing work is not the ideal.
Like, I agree. Honest, I think there is something truth to what you just said. Like, it's regurgitating doesn't necessarily mean learning.
Yeah, like burning magnesium will send out bright white light. Whoa. Now what? Now what?
Yeah.
Till this day, my only knowledge on magnesium is when it burns, it gives out white light, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good. Yeah, I think I agree with you that regurgitating doesn't necessarily mean learning, and I think things could be different in terms of like more hands-on learning instead of just like memorizing stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree with. So kind of going a little bit, my wife asked me this question. I've been asking her questions, but she asked me this question. I found it very interesting. I kind of want you to relate it to your home life, your parents, maybe your extended family, so on and so forth. The question is how do you show love? How did you receive love? How did you see love in your home life?
Okay.
Growing up. And has that changed now?
We don't hug.
Okay.
We don't hug.
Why? Cultural? Is there some kind of
thing? And to be honest, we don't show love. It's the weirdest thing. Like I remember every single time that I go back to China, I'm talking about like this last time and last time, in the recent years, every single time that my like I will be getting luggage, and then what my dad will do is that he will just pat on my shoulders, like really hard, like this. Like, hey Kevin, all right, hey dad. That's how we express love. I don't know. And then yeah, like we don't really say love. Like I love
Is there
you.
a word in love in Chinese?
Yeah, there is. I like
Okay.
we don't say that, but like that word is designated to marriage, or like boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend. Like we don't use love. Love is like this kind of like a sacred word to us. Like
Uh-huh.
I don't think my dad ever told my mom that, oh, I love you, ever.
But you said there was a word,
But
but
we
you
don't
said
use
that.
it.
So even in the context of marriage, it's not used.
No,
No.
we don't use it. Or my parents in that generation, they don't use it.
They don't use it. Why do you? And so they never shared that with you. They never said, "Kevin, we love you. I love you."
No.
What do you think? What do you feel about that? What are your thoughts on that now? Has it changed you, affected you in any way? You're like, whatever.
I
How mindful
remember.
are you?
I I mean, like it's interesting that the Western culture, we're like hugging all the time, we're doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just not what we do. Like it just like it's not like if you open up, okay, if you write up a PDF, right, like
Mm-hmm.
like a Chinese manual, this is how Chinese people behave, you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't find that in there. And
Mm-hmm.
then me with that, like that's the manual, like this is how we operate, you
But
know.
you're the abnormal. You're the abnormality. You got out of the system.
I did now, and then I to be honest, like my first girlfriend ever, like I said, yeah, like there's stories about that, but like I didn't know how to hug, like with the people here, I didn't know how to hug, and the
Mm-hmm.
hug would feel like uncomfortable to me, like until like these days, I don't hug that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have I ever hugged you before? Probably not.
Uh,
Yeah, see, like it's just not in the manual, it's not in the culture manual,
mm-hmm.
you know. um I don't know about you guys, but it's just not in our manual. So
That's so. For me, I did not. It was the same thing. My mom, my dad. I never heard my dad tell my mom, "I love you."
yeah,
Um, I don't um, recall him telling that to me growing up.
yeah,
Um, however, the way I saw love in my life through my home was like yeah, my grandparents would hug me, my mom would hug me, and there was
so
it was
there were hugs.
they were hugs. However, it was more or less restricted to family members rather than like friends.
Okay,
Um, so I mean, unless it was a girlfriend or
right,
but you wouldn't give hugs to a friend, but you could give one to like your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, even your dad. But my dad, it wasn't kind of awkward. So I kind of remember feeling that like so instead of like having a verbal thing. Um, and now when I know more about love, I know more about connection and human touch. It releases the chemical in your called oxytocin, which is
right.
like
The
just like
love hormone.
love. It's an important chemical that
Right,
bonds babies to their mothers,
right.
um, and too much like deprivation of it can have effects. Um,
Crap.
you know,
Oh
no,
no.
not saying that but you might like it's like uh, difficulty in forming connection. It's like uh, because you've been deprived of that.
That's true.
So knowing that is like, I wouldn't say that my home life was bad, but I wish that there was more that I could have heard and seen.
Yeah.
So like my dad not telling my mom, I love you, kind of gives me an example that I don't need to say that.
Yeah.
But my wife expects that. I mean, so I have changed. I have changed, you know.
That's true.
But
your American wife is like, why don't you say that anymore? I was like, I don't know.
Right. So it's like now there's like kind of a cultural thing where it's like, you know, and we can debate if it's right or wrong. And I don't necessarily want to go that route. You know, it's, as you said, it's a manual. It's their manual.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a perfect manual. Having been being on the other side, like if I was still back home, if you're still in China, that's probably the only manual you would know even today.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember, I was in China. I was like watching Everybody Loves Raymond, which is still my like absolute favorite show ever. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched for a little bit. Like one of the things that it was odd to me is that, you know, like they're all hugging, they're all kissing, they're all doing stuff, and I was like, that's weird. And then like they have the nuts to like tell, you know, their in-laws to not come to their house anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, China, that's like a big taboo. Like, you know, like the closer that you live with your parents, the better. Mm-hmm. You know, probably same thing in like India culture. So it's just a manual thing, right? Like, if you're exposed to the other side of the coin, you might not still change your operating procedure because it's the dominant one.
But I would hope that we would make a hybrid, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
We would like try to take the best of both worlds and try to kind of mush it together, you know. But that was definitely a interesting question.
Right. That was a good question.
That, you know, because it's like, oh yeah, I've never thought to ask that, like, to Kevin.
True. That's true, because we are so in tune to our manuals. It's like, why would somebody say any differently?
Yeah, exactly, right. And it kind of exposes, I would think, some like a different perspective that, you know, that we're never exposed to, which I akin to when you're like, oh, I have read Sam Harris, I listen to Tim Ferriss, and it's like, yeah, you're exposing yourself to different perspectives of these people, and then you're trying to like imbibe and soak up and mix something that's like works for you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I listened to this podcast again. It's about it's with Dr. Peter Attia. It's like a longevity doctor. Like I got my like, you know, the living to 120 like inspiration from him. He was doing his review podcast because he's done like over 100 episodes, and then he was saying that there's this phrase that his investment banking friend told him. Is that the best way to go dealing with everyday situation is have strong conviction, but they are loosely held. Meaning that you need to be able to believe what you believe in strongly, but how long are you willing to practice it is a different story.
So you can change and then.
Yeah. So I guess the whole key is to keep an open mind and then really follow through with what are you going to do. Right, because the housing market or the asset market before the COVID-19 is like going at an all-time high, and all of a sudden everything collapsed, and you have to change another perspective, right? It is the way it is. So
yeah, I think that's it's like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, there's so much more that we can learn. So now you're here, you know. Been in the US for a long time, and you look back, or when you go back to China, how is your interaction still the same, or is it different? Like, do you look at it the same way, or you just slip back and follow the manual and don't question it, and like?
You mean if I will live my life like right now, let's say, Kevin, you are going to your 13-year-old you, like tomorrow, what will I do? Is that what you're
Um,
asking?
well, sure. Let's go with that. Let's go with that. I
Okay.
think that's.
Um, I I don't know actually. I mean, in a nutshell, like my mom was telling me this like from before, like after I came to the U.S. and my
Mm-hmm.
mom completely shifted her perspective. Like she wasn't that gung ho about me going to the best school or have the best grades,
Mm-hmm.
but her perspective changed because when people, you know how Chinese people are, right? Like if like probably your parents went through this too. Like when you have a children that went to MIT or
Mm-hmm.
Johns Hopkins, like your older brother, and then everybody will go to your parents for parenting advice, right? Right? Same thing in China, right? Like there will be people that say, hey, like your son went to abroad when they were 14. Like what do you recommend for us to do right now?
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom actually told me that she made that switch after I went out. Is that you don't need to go to the best school.
Mm-hmm.
It's because with the best school, there's going to be a large people like on the denominator and only a few people on the nominator,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's so fierce competition, like like it's like for me, like I'm probably trauma for life with my math and physics ability right now, right? So like imagine, right, like if I go to a medium level school,
Mm-hmm.
I can excel at everything. And I totally agree, right? Like if there's less fierce competition, then
Mm-hmm.
I will have a more confident personality. I
Mm-hmm.
probably can say, oh, I can do math. Yay, I can do
Mm-hmm.
physics. I can do this. So I become the top of the cream in that school.
Mm-hmm.
Then that might have more beneficial long-term perspective compared to going to the best school and then suck at it or not be
Suck at.
excelling at
Mm-hmm.
it, right? And part of it, like for me, I definitely believe that, right? Like like if you tell me, hey, Kevin, are you good at math? I'll probably still tell you no, I'm not good at math. Probably still,
Probably. Right.
right? So
But yeah, I think again, I really agree with you on that. Like, I think it's probably better to how did my I forgot what the metaphor was, but somebody told me it's like it's better to be a king amongst the poor
right,
than be a pauper amongst like the rich kind of thing, right? It's
right,
like
right, right.
um,
That's definitely true.
that's where it kind of certainly helps you kind of motivate you. Having said that, being in top schools like may make you fierce, it may make you competitive, but it can also make you like really dislike and hate something too.
Yeah.
So um, and I think that's what happened in my class is past I think 8th grade, suddenly like I became really good student.
Uh-huh.
And when I think back, I am like because I made so past 8th grade, we were divided into classes in my school based on an elective. So I chose computer science as my elective, and all the people who chose computer science got put together in one group.
Right. Oh,
And
they're doing that this early on.
yeah,
Okay.
I was like 10th
Interesting.
grade. It was 10th grade. Like
Interesting.
no,
Okay.
like ninth and 10th. So ninth grade
Okay.
and 10th grade. And then if you chose something else, like technical drawing, you were put in a different class and something like that. So it was like
Mhm.
4 things. So I decided to go computer science. I always liked computers. And it so happened that there was one other person who I knew was really good because he used to get really good grades in previous classes. And I was like, oh man, I can never be top because he's here. That person's there. I can never be
Right.
on top.
Right.
But that person decided to drop the elective and move to a different one because his friends were in a different group. So he chose a different. He changed his
Yeah.
elective. And then
Hmm.
I was like, yes,
My time.
my time. And then like I started to be like top. I was like the first, like the first in that class. But if you compared to the entire cohort, I would be probably in the top 10. not like top, but it was like, I don't care. I mean, that's all what I
Yeah.
wanted.
I mean, from my perspective, like a true genius, like they can never be suppressed. Like they will find a way to excel no matter what. Like if you want to like push them down, then they're still gonna rise up. Then why put the pressure on your children to become geniuses?
Yeah,
Right?
I think it would be more advisable to teach them skills that they could kind of smart, like street smart, and like I
Yeah.
don't know, like being able to. I think education is important, and it does kind of gives you the whole roundedness, but it's not necessarily that you need to be a genius to excel.
That's true.
And the definition of success, like even for me right now, the definition of success is more financial, more monetary, and I hope that maybe it might become different, be more contentment based, rather than just like more focused on like money.
Right. That's true.
So what about you? What's success for you? How do you see define your success now?
I guess just be content with like everything. Like I don't mean be complacent, but have a few areas that you are willing to progress and then you want to push through that, and just be happy with what you have, right? Because like if you listen to Naval, right, if you listen to my version of Naval lessons, you will know that I totally sign on to what he's saying. It's just like like if you chase money, then it might buy you some happiness in the short term. Like today, I saw something on my phone. It's like Sonos a speaker is cheapest ever. It's $150. I was literally thinking about getting two, one for my study and one for my kitchen. But I was like, yeah, I already have speakers here. I'm probably good. It's probably not good to spend money during this COVID time and save some money for the food and whatnot. And I didn't get impulse to purchase it, even though how I love Sonos. I already have two right here, right? Like the thing is that if you chase material stuff, then there's endless loops, right? Like that's why like I understand the power of money. To me, is more like a ink in a pen, right? With no ink, you cannot write anything, right? But with too much ink, like how much ink can you use? Right? So with the ink in the pen, what you can do is it help you to write out beautiful passages or a book or a notion. It help you do all that stuff, but realizing that having like a gallon of ink for a fountain pen is not really going to be helpful that much. That's kind of like my perspective on that, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. Like I appreciate it. You have that, and hopefully you kind of maintain that perspective.
Yeah.
So
like, am I blessed with everything? Yes, I am. Like like just know what I have is like good enough. But at the meantime, it's really good to have something that you're passionate about, that you're pushing towards, right? Like your career, you with your PhD program, me with this marketing and recruiting things, right? And just make sure that I can progress. That's why I've been reading like a book in 2 days or 3 days. I've been doing such a heavy focus on reading because I want to know if there's anything that I want to change or I want to progress. I want to fill in that knowledge hole that I didn't fill when I was working, right? So anyway, does that answer your question?
No, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, wow, yeah, it's already 9, dude. It's always.
I can keep rolling if you're up to it. I don't mind.
No, I'll have to. I have a few more things I need to attend to.
Okay, cool.
I usually past 9. I try to like
bedtime for
take
you.
some time for my. Oh, not necessarily bedtime. I try to take time for myself. Kind of start winding down. Do some things I like. Kind of slow down and.
We only had 2 freaking questions, Summer. Come on.
I have more, 10. Man. We have more. We have more. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's. We've just kind of barely begun to kind of understand, like where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of. This has been really kind of eye-opening to kind of like, oh, Kevin knows classical guitar. Hopefully he'll play us a piece
I don't feel
one of
like
these days. It doesn't matter how bad you are. You can be worse than me.
Is that a guitar in the background behind the printer?
That's my wife's.
Okay, I see.
She
I
can
see.
play. I don't know how to play squat,
Yeah.
so
That's fine.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I think your wife brings a good topic, right? Like people are like, you know, like so uptight about this COVID situation. Like, it is depressing. It's good to have a mental escape in this situation, you know?
Yeah, I think I appreciate, like, she was like, yeah, don't talk about Corona this time. Talk about
Wait,
this.
she listened to the podcast?
She listened to, because she's in the other room. she hears me talking.
Okay.
So but like, yeah, it's
You're making funny faces now.
no, I'm like, she was like, it's kind of boring for me.
Okay.
And I was
Why is it
okay.
boring for her?
Because she likes to she hears other podcasts, like stuff you should know about, like, in stuff you should know, how things work, off the Office Ladies podcast.
Oh, I know that one. Okay.
Where it's like there's more, I don't know, there's a more focused, like they're going at a topic and they're doing research on that topic and telling you, but she wants to learn.
Right.
And our podcasts are more
conversational
oriented. Exactly, like rant, debate, repeat.
Right.
But I must tell you, I haven't seen a lot of debate though. There's a lot of rant, but not a lot of
Summer
debate.
show or for the podcast
in general.
What are you implying? Are you implying that Joe and I were like too good?
A debate. You know, it's like, no, you're right, no, I'm right, and like for and against.
We can try something.
Points.
That's fine.
That just came to me. I was like, we do a lot of rant, and I think we do quite a bit of repeat too.
I mean,
but the debate is like,
how do you define a debate, right? Like just like two like politicians, one wearing red tie, the other one wearing a blue tie, and they're just going at it, or do you?
Well, a debate is, in my mind, is essentially people bringing points for and against a topic, and the debate may have a purpose is to convince a third party.
Right.
Whether usually it's like in the competitions and such, it's like, is the judges who is more convincing with their arguments.
Right. As a debate competition perspective, right?
A debate competition perspective, and I mean, on a podcast, that doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to convince anybody. They need to make their own mind.
Well, now I have to think about how to spice things up on the podcast so that your wife can listen to the podcast and learn something. I've been doing quite well with the book review, to be honest. I've been doing quite well with the meditation and one. I've been doing research.
But that's your solo thing. Who's calling you out on those?
Who's calling me out on what? On the mindfulness?
On the mindfulness or
hopefully you.
Hopefully, yeah. I just barely listen to your mindfulness.
Right.
Right, our AI one, where it was like you had perspective, and then I was like, no, Kevin, this is blah 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 blah.
Right.
I felt like that's more debate.
Do you want to do more debates? Like I'm game. I can do it, but
we can certainly do something. I mean, if you have a topic or something in mind.
Yeah, like here's the thing with debate that I kind of see a problem of, like, you know, judging by the competition sense, is that I'm not trying to win it. I'm not trying to win a debate. Like, I have no desire to win any debate.
Okay. I have a good topic that I want to be convinced.
Okay.
Because you mentioned this a few times.
Okay.
I never saw a full podcast on UBI. You started it.
The
But
UBI thing again?
You did not go through it, and
Yeah,
I'm
but
so
like engineer, I
interested.
drop out too early.
It doesn't matter. Because when we started, like, it was announced that we were gonna get stimulus checks.
Right.
You're like, oh, it's UBI, and you were like, and in my mind, I was like, how is this UBI, man? Like, this is
Well,
not UBI. This is just a one-time deal.
It is not, quote unquote UBI, but it is a large proportion of the, by definition. It might not be recurring revenue, but it is something, right?
So it's not UBI.
It's not UBI, but yeah,
it's stimulus.
That's true.
So, like, I was like, Kevin is going gaga over this, and I was like, what the heck?
But during that time, I don't really have that much full details on everything yet, So
this was just like last week.
Yeah, but it's like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but like nobody know if it's really gonna happen. Like nobody know if it's really gonna like be a paper check or something.
But irrespective of it, it doesn't matter because it's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And it's on in a time when majority of the economy is down, right? Like,
yeah,
not just truckers now being
displaced,
pushed out because of automation. It's pretty much like everything except probably like tech, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else is just very sparse.
Right.
So like I would be curious to perhaps get your views on that and even UBI and kind of get your views on how you think should we get under stimulus? How would the money help? I don't know. Like I would love to get perspective on that.
So the biggest thing, I just want to give you a brief version of why I believe UBI is a big thing. It's a good thing, and then the stimulus bills is a good first step towards realizing that. Is right now people are not working, right? I think the unemployment number is at 10 million right now.
Mm-hmm.
This week's number hasn't published yet. It's probably going to be like 12 million or something.
Yeah, it's going to be in double digits. So
yeah. So people are now start seeing. I think the last biggest unemployment number was 700K.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was during the Reagan years or something like that. We had a downturn in the 80s, and then unemployment was at 700K. That was a big deal, right? So the thing is people now are realizing that they can only last for a month or two, right? In this scenario, it might be a little bit more and more like extreme because we're not sure how far the virus will be contained. My bet is it's going to be going into the summertime, maybe July, maybe August. And in like China, we are seeing there's a second wave going on right now. They can contain this pretty well right now, but they are scared of the transmission, if that makes sense. Right? They have the 0 new cases, 0 transmissive cases, and everybody has to go through 12, 14 days of quarantine for them to to begin start the education system. Right? So we are like a long way away from that. So in a regular situation, when you just have a regular, let's say a person lost a job, let's say a retail clerk or a truck driver lost his job. So without $1,000 a month or even $600 a month, they're able to at least have enough wiggle room for food or for rent or for situations, right? So it will be
probably just one of those.
Just one of those, yeah. But like it depends on how big of the thing.
Yeah.
But like people can start seeing the benefit of having a buffer in their life, like a benefit to like take risk, right? Like say like for me, okay, I can see your face right now. Like say for like me, right? Like if like that's one of the things that I want to ask you when you're going through Europe is that like because I like one of the perception that I've got is that if you grew up in Europe, if you're a European country, like like well off, like a tiny country like Norway or Denmark, then you are free to like explore art, right? You are free to explore philosophy, right? Which is a love of mine. But for me, before I switched to business, I was going to do psychology and philosophy. Like I know right off the bat that it's going to be two lowest paying major for the for the entire nation.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know that time are going to be tough during the time, you know, down the road. Right? Like that's what I mean is that if I'm truly like let's say if everything stays the same and I know that I have UBI,
you could
I'm
go
probably
to
gonna switch to philosophy.
You could have done psychology
and
then
philosophy.
marketing then.
I
That would be
could,
good. That would be
but
you would still make a lot of money, but
yeah, but like the marketing has to be there, right?
yeah.
Like the business has to be there. But like with just a psychology and like philosophy,
yeah.
I was ready to get a double PhD and start teaching for the rest of my life. That was my trajectory switching away from pre-med if I don't do marketing. Right? Like that's what I'm saying is that, you know, maybe there will be more artists in the room. Maybe there will be more buffer. Maybe there will be more people kind of able to to start to put away money, maybe just $50 a month to a savings plan or to an IRA or something. So we can all be like better off in that regard. Just a little bit of a margin helps, you know?
Okay. So I'll give you a different perspective.
All right, cool.
Perhaps it's not that people will do creative jobs. Maybe people will realize that creative jobs get shut down or like didn't pay well enough, get further shut down in times like these. So maybe they should pivot to jobs that pay, like tech jobs and IT jobs and software jobs, and try to perhaps have a skill, a secondary or a tertiary skill that they can kind of rely on continuously. Like if this fails, I can do this. If this fails, I can do that. You know, instead of, you know, it's like and try to take risks and save money that way instead of just like trying to be creative and only save. Like it, to me, it feels like if they pivot to something else, they might have a better option in the future.
No, that's not what I mean by a buffer zone. Like, you know, like using your logic like it still stands, right? Like if you are trying something new and then if you fail, then you don't fail that hard. You don't lose your house. Like people are legitimately scared of losing their house right now, right?
Yes. Why?
Yes. Why?
Because they didn't save. Because they didn't.
Yeah.
Why? Because they didn't save.
Yeah, because they
don't have a buffer. So and the ones that are hardest hit are small business owners and such, like right. You know, and so there's two ways to look at it. Is one, everybody should save to have a buffer.
Yes.
And second is what jobs are more insulated from downturns like these.
Right.
Like for example, I think a doctor is always needed.
It's true.
Bad economy, good economy, war, infection.
Yeah.
Doctor is always needed. You can't go wrong with being a doctor.
It's true.
Right.
Very true.
So just one profession where if the younger generation pivots and goes into like healthcare more, you know, they're almost always guaranteed a job.
Yeah, but not everybody is built for a doctor. Like I wasn't built for a doctor. Sorry to burst your bubble.
True, but if you had that skill, let's say blood taking skill, right, you could at least say, I have my license for blood taking.
Right.
I'm just sitting at home. I can earn money by doing this. I don't like it. It's not my primary thing. Right. It's my secondary thing that I could pivot.
Right.
But right now, I mean, you may have other things to do, but somebody else may be like, can't do nothing. I got to sit at home. I got to wait this out. Right. I only know how to make food and I don't know, flip burgers or something. I don't know.
Right.
So So I'm just saying, I just feel like it's a different perspective to be
It
like,
is.
maybe the younger generation may, instead of like having the millennial mindset of, I don't know, like may want to buckle down and do something instead of like being all artistic in some sense. And
What do you have against RC people?
I don't have anything against artsy people. I think it's important to have them, but I'm just saying like maybe this might change some minds, maybe change some perspective.
It will.
I'm not saying that every person should just now just kind of go into like healthcare or something like that, and we should have no movies, we should have no music, and no. I mean, no. I mean, those people are. As a matter of fact, if you want to be a musician or an actor and artist, you better be a good one and already make your millions, so you can just sit at home and not to worry. That's the other side of perspective, right? Where it's like you're so good, you have millions in your bank, you can wait for a year.
Yeah.
Like, so.
I mean.
Anyways.
Yeah, like I totally see your perspective, but like the thing is, I'm not trying to debate. Like I'm not trying. I'm just saying that, you know, like people, it takes them some time to discover what they want to do, especially after trying something and didn't work out, after they got laid off, after they're not getting work with their stuff that's not under control.
Well, right now they have to be creative, right? Where it's I'm sitting at home, what can I do?
Right.
You know, I mean, people have been making money posting YouTube videos,
right?
Playing video games, and
it's true.
On Minds, on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, right? Like,
yep.
and maybe a lot more people would give that a thought. Like, what can I do?
Yeah.
Sitting at home that I could make money.
Like making podcasts on books.
Making podcasts, right? I mean, like
that your wife should like listen to.
It's an easy thing. It's
right.
You know, it's like just, and even in making podcasts, it's a good thing. Like if you wanted to do this money, and I know we're not doing this for money, but like if you wanted to do this for money, then you might have to think about how can we reach more people and blah 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 blah. You know, so.
True.
But yeah, I think it's going to change, start churning a lot of minds in a lot of people.
Yeah. And the biggest obstacle for UBI, in my opinion, is not really about money, how we pay for it. Like most people, they ask the same question: how are you going to pay for it? Blah blah blah. But the thing that I see is the stigma coming from a cultural side, right? Like social Darwinism. I don't want to give out handouts. People that are lazy and then they don't want to work and then they get $1,000. What? And I'm paying for that? Hell no, right? It's along those lines. But
true. I think there is some. But the question, I wasn't thoroughly convinced about having it paid as well. Like,
yeah, there's some question marks, but like hopefully after this, people can have more, you know, financial hygiene habits. Maybe
yeah,
call it.
Yeah, because I in my mind, I don't know how the government is giving money, loans. They're not even loans because they don't have to be repaid.
Yeah. So I was listening to the podcast. Go ahead.
No, I was like, so how the heck does the money
come from?
Yeah. You know, so I was listening how long does it take the money to go back in?
Yeah, I listened to a NPR podcast. There's a podcast called Planet Money. They've done a couple of good ones about, you know, post Corona. They did one on how will the $2 trillion come from. I'm not a, you know, like macro economics or something, but the money are going to come from treasury bills because the U.S. are already owning money right now. We're already in a deficit. So we are trying to.
They already owe money.
Yeah, we are already in a deficit.
Yeah, like they owe money to like other countries, including China.
Yeah, and probably India too.
Probably, yeah, but they all like trillion something. I don't know, like.
Yeah, so like they will do this by like, you know, like treasury bills. So like before the thing, because I'm not an economist at all. I'm just saying the theory to me is that before people are buying treasury bills, I like the T-bills, right? Like the safest investment you can ever make, because the U.S. government never, ever, ever had ever defaulted on a loan, on a treasury bill. I think that's my theory. That's what they're saying right now, is that they're cashing on some of those treasury bill, either getting more of it or getting more cashed in. So they're still in the deficit, but they're trying to squeeze some money out of the treasury bills to make sure that they can cover the $2 trillion. But I'm not an expert, so don't ask me more. That's all I know.
Yeah. You know what? It would be good if you did a podcast on that. Like,
where the $2 trillion come from?
Yeah. Like, if you can understand it, you can explain it. Well, that didn't come out right. Maybe if you understood it, maybe you can explain it in ways that all of us can understand it, right? You do that with your books and your mindfulness, and right, like breaking it down.
Yeah, I guess mindfulness now is fun.
I know, because that's the last one I listened to. So
all right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to dig around even more. Like the one that I did on mindfulness, it's because my mom, she started meditating.
Yeah, she started meditating, exactly.
And she's like, Kevin, like, what's your point on this? And I was like, cool, let me do some research. Okay, cool. I might do something about the $2 trillion tomorrow, and then we'll see what we come up with.
Yeah. See, there you go. This is good. This is good.
Do you call this a debate?
It's a debate-ish.
See, like I don't see that as a debate, because I'm not trying to win anything.
No, and I'm not trying to convince you or make you convince me in any way. But it's more, if I just agree with you or everything, then it's just like, okay.
Getting bored, right?
It's like we need a little bit. So
you wanted to do so I could take some punches.
Take some punches. Take some punches. That's it.
That's the biggest thing that I've been talking to my parents about, because they're freaking out about me getting a dog. They're like freaking out. They're like, Kevin, you're going meeting with a stranger. They don't care about the dog, to be honest. They don't care about the dogs. It's like, Kevin, you're gonna be in contact with a stranger every single day. Why you just did another 2 applications? I was like, Mom, we meet at a park. Okay, there's an open air for everyone, and then there's nobody around. I will make sure that I stay 6 feet from the foster mom. I'll be walking the dog. I'll make sure that doesn't happen, right? So, I mean, to a point, they have a point, right? They have a reason to be so nervous about the corona, because I'm here, they are there. They've seen how bad it is in China. But the thing is I've been trying to get a student and say, hey, like they always say, maybe your parents say that, so they always say, hey, Summer, it's for your benefit that you like listen to us.
Yeah.
You heard that before?
Yeah.
And then I was like, Mom, like it doesn't matter what your message is. It really doesn't matter. If your delivery is not very good, I don't care about the final message.
Yeah, and I agree. Yes,
that's the one
100%.
thing that I learned from me training people in the field of roadshow, training sales and teaching how to recruit and how to get them good at something, is that I have to make sure that I package and present it the right way so they can take it in. Right? Like I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, but like just like putting a bandage on. Let's say I'm like shooting you with a RPG. Boom! It's like a big missile right through your heart. I was like, oh, Summer, it's okay. It's all for your own benefit. And I'm gonna give you a band-aid. I'm gonna give you a Hello Kitty band-aid. I'm gonna put it on there. Feel better. It's all for your benefit. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're dead.
Yeah. So I've been trying to get them to know that. It's like, yeah, I know you're concerned, but after you calm down, right? Like after you are off your 20-minute record, like my mom will literally run for 20 minutes. I don't have to say anything. She will just go on and on and on. About this, and it's like, come on, like let's all calm down. Let's talk about this, and then we go on.
So that's one way you're changing the manual. That's one way you're changing.
I'm trying to change the manuals right now.
Manual, like, hey, let's do it slightly differently because it works better.
Yeah,
and that's what you've learned. Okay, that's awesome. That's a good example, man. So
yeah. So,
but anyways, dude, like we gotta wrap it up.
All right. Do it next weekend.
next weekend. So
all right, hold on to your questions, okay? And then I will probably
I'll try to get more questions.
Good, good. Then maybe we need like a 3 hour recording blog or something.
We can split it into two. So.
I will try to get this posted tomorrow, so your wife can listen to it tomorrow, and then I'll send you a link. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, man. So.
All right.
Well, this is Summer signing off.
Kevin signing off, or stop recording.